Hey guys, welcome back. It's Missy, and I have been doing some thinking, and I've been thinking about mommy issues and daddy issues. And I know that's such like a silly term, but it's the one people most relate to. And I decided that I'm going to do a 4-part series. First on mommy issues, gonna give it a little bit of break, and then I'll do daddy issues. And what we're gonna uncover is this first video that we're doing today is going to be all things mommy issues. And then I'm going to talk about the signs and how it affects women. And then the week after that, we'll talk about how it affects men, because mommy issues and then daddy issues affect each gender differently. And then the fourth and final part will be how to heal. That way I break it down so you guys don't feel like you have to sit and watch a 40-minute video. That way you can take in the shorter version, hear what my overthinking self gotta say, because I got a ton to say, let that marinate, and then we'll uncover the other things one by one. But I'll probably do the last 2 videos in the same week. That way it doesn't feel like it's dragging on. And I don't know about you, but I hate long-winded cliffhangers, so I won't do that to you guys. And I highly recommend watching the entire series, no matter what your gender is, so that way you can get clarification. And sometimes some of these things overlap and you'll be able to relate to one thing over the other, so definitely would recommend watching it through. Before we get into this video, if you're new here, my name is Missy. I'm a life and relationship coach. And on this channel, we get to the root of the issue and we learn how to heal and deal. So if that's your thing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I would love for you to be a part of the fam. And if you already are a subscriber, I appreciate you so much. Let's jump into today's video. So let's jump into the role of the mother. The mother's role is to be the nurturer, the caregiver, the one that's supposed to make you feel secure and confident and like everything's gonna be okay, and those warm fuzzy feelings. They're supposed to be the one that's compassionate and allows you to be vulnerable. So something we have to keep in mind is the reason why it affects genders differently is because men learn how to treat women through their mom, and women learn how to be a woman through her mom. And I feel like mommy issues, especially how it affects women, isn't talked about enough, because a lot of times when we talk about mommy issues or daddy issues, it's used in a derogatory way. For girls, when you say a girl has a daddy issue, it's because they're like slut shaming them. And then when a guy has mommy issues, a lot of the time it's to emasculate them. And not only that, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about how mothers can negatively impact their children, because I feel like moms often are put on a high pedestal where you're like, that's your mom, she gave birth to you, you can't say anything negative about her. But in reality, moms do make mistakes. Like, it's great that they've done some wonderful things, but at the same time, they also are capable of hurting us. So you may be wondering, why would I care about if I have mommy issues or not? So here's the thing. You can have really great parents, but they can still do things that could hurt you, as they're not perfect. They maybe didn't show you enough affection. They didn't maybe give you enough time, or maybe they weren't empathetic enough towards your feelings. All these things will affect you in some sort of way, because your parents only can do so much for you. Certain needs may not be met. And this is because their parents are only picking up after their parents, and their parents had made mistakes, and so your parents also will make mistakes. So that's why even like the best parents can make mistakes. And then obviously the abusive, neglectful parents definitely make those mistakes. I feel like majority of people do have some sort of issue with one or the other of their parents. And it could go from just little issues to extreme things. These issues can affect your relationships, your mental health, how you view yourself, and how you deal with everyday life. And when you're aware of these issues and where they come from, then you can do something about it. So that's why it's important to be aware. Now, there's another thing to keep in mind. Having an issue with a mom could mean a couple different things. It could mean she's completely out of the picture. It could mean that she physically takes care of you, you're always fed, you're always clothed, but emotionally there's no connection, or she's really abusive, or it's hard to have conversations with her, she doesn't seem interested in you, maybe she's neglectful in that regard, she's emotionally unavailable. Or it could be that she's physically and emotionally neglectful, so she's there, she shows up, but she doesn't pay much attention to you. Maybe she's an addict. Maybe she's always with her friends. Or maybe even if like you do have a good relationship with your mom, maybe it was on a smaller scale where she couldn't relate to you or understand you. Maybe you were a little bit more of a sensitive kid and she was more of someone who took everything like a joke. You'll feel like you can't relate to her, and that will create a wound. Now, they all have different severity and different effects, but it all results in the same thing: not feeling enough, feeling worthless and unlovable. And the reason that this is because when things happen, when mom doesn't validate you, when mom doesn't take the time to spend with you, what we do as children is we cannot reason until the age we are 9, so we internalize it and blame ourselves. Oh, it's because of me. I'm not enough. That's why mom didn't want to look at my picture. It's me. That's why mom didn't want to go to the park with me and spend time with me. So you couldn't understand at that time the logical reason. You couldn't reason at that time. So that's why that emotional wound is still there. Even though you may understand it on a different level now, it still hasn't been dealt with. It hasn't been healed properly. So when mom doesn't give you affection, when she doesn't give you love, when she doesn't give you time, when she doesn't give you validation, it leaves a hole, an empty feeling. And like I said, that empty feeling is not feeling good enough, worthlessness, not having that nurturing love. So when you have this hole, you don't have someone to talk it through. You don't even realize how this is affecting you. So you then cover it up. So that is when ego comes in and protects that wound, that hole. So then it becomes a band-aid, and you will deal with that wound in other unhealthy ways. So you may deal with it by having sex. You may deal with it by going on a lot of relationships. You may deal with it by overly working. You may deal with it by not trusting anyone and just relying solely on yourself. You may deal with it by constantly craving the love and affection of others. And that hole may temporarily be filled, but over time, it comes up again and again and again. And you feel this emptiness, you feel this hole, and you constantly are looking for things to fill it. You get in a state where you're trying to protect this wound rather than dealing with it. Or you are trying to avoid it or distract yourself from it. And we will talk about how to heal this hole in part 4. So you may be wondering, well, what does a healthy mother look like? What would help us not have this hole? So in order to have a healthy childhood or a healthy adult, you need a mom that is nurturing, but also makes you feel like you can do things on your own. You have that confidence. And it's also okay to be vulnerable with others and also to ask for help, but also encourages their child to be on their own, and that it is okay to be vulnerable at times. But there is negatives if you don't have a healthy balance. So if you have a mom that's overly nurturing, overly takes care of you, overly invades your space, overly involves herself in your life, in your friendships, in your problems, which is, you know, basically kind of like a codependent mom, that will make the child then feel like they have to always rely on others and that they're not capable of taking care of themselves, or they have to rely on their mom. So this can cause the child to be overly needy or very codependent as well. Now, if you have a mom that's on the other end where she's too aggressive, then you may become afraid of vulnerability. You may be overcritical. You may overly criticize yourself. You'll over criticize others. You'll be harsh with others. You may judge them too much. You may struggle with being more empathetic or sympathetic, and you may be insensitive. And you may be too blunt and overly self-reliant and not really let other people in. And when you have an overly aggressive mom, boys will be disrespectful towards women, or they may get disrespected by women. And then girls may also be disrespected as a woman or be disrespectful to other women. So that's why you need that combination of that mother that's very nurturing and teaches you how to be nurturing, where she can allow vulnerability but doesn't make you feel victimized or disrespected, but also shows that she's assertive and teaches you how to be assertive and makes you feel empowered. Now, if you are off that spectrum completely and you have no mom, then you will have a very hard time with emotions or vulnerability and won't really know how to nurture yourself. And you also will not have an example of who to look up to when it comes to those things. So you will always crave that. So you may look for that in others, or you may try to find someone that will fit that role. So that is the first video in this series of going more in depth about the issue with the mother. And then next week we are going to be going into how this affects boys and men. So what do you guys think? Leave it all in the comments below, and please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share with someone that you think may need it. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye guys. I feel like with these lashes and these wings, I'm ready to fly. I'm gonna fly away. I'm gonna fly from these mommy issues. I need a hop.